I'm Tony Dominguez. This webinar will cover basic programming of Shark 270. Here, if you're not familiar with the Shark 270, it comes in a socket form factor and a switchboard form factor. We will be beginning this webinar with connecting to the meter. If you do not have the software, you can find the software on our website, electroind.com. Under products, scroll down to energy management software, select communicator, and there is a download version button. You select that and you can run through the installation. Once you have installed the software, you can try to connect to the meter. The meter has multiple options for connecting. There are serial ports and network options. The serial ports, you have optical or RS-485. You would input that information for your meter here and select connect. Today I am connecting to a meter on the network. We'll actually connect. Now we can see the device status for the meter. Select OK to close, and you'll notice that several of your button options have been illuminated. Here you can see different polling screens. If you select the polling screen, you'll get volts, line to neutral, volts, line to line, current per phase, real power, watts, 1 second, average, your peak maximums, and you also have your VARs, reactive power, apparent power, and you can select per phase, volts and current. Hit OK, closes. Next you have energy. That gives you another pop-up. Here you can see your energy per the quadrants, your demand, watts received and delivered, current and volts squared T, energy, primary and secondary, watts, VARs, volt amps, and net watts. You can also see your uncompensated energy and your Q hours. Here you have the harmonic. You can see harmonics for your meter or your line. You can see per phase as well. You can see these in waveform or in spectrum. You can see if you look back at the values, it was our first harmonic that has our values. Next, this is a phasor. It's a visual representation of what we're seeing with our meter. This particular meter is seeing very low current, or none at all on the B phase. We are seeing some peculiar readings, but this would give you a quick glimpse at any issues that you have once you have installed your meter, your CTs and PTs, and configured the meter. You can also see these values through the real-time poll option. So real-time values, you can see instantaneous poll, which brings you back to that same polling screen if you would have pressed the button. There, our revenue, and there's demand. You can see your demand. There are lots of options to see your live data and your historical recorded accumulators. If you have any limits, you can see if any limits have been exceeded. So this is a basic training for programming your meter, just giving an overview. There are lots of in-depth, more detailed information you can see for your meter. Next, we will connect or pull up the profile for your meter so that you can begin your basic configuration. Your meter data will be extracted from the meter to give your current settings, and so you can update your meter. So you will receive a pop-up with all your current meter settings. There are many options. Don't be intimidated. This is a basic programming. Your meter will function properly by our simple setup on simply putting your correct CT ratios and PT ratios, 1:1 for Y connected. If you have a delta connected system or 2.5 element Y, you may select that option. If you find in troubleshooting that your CTs are in reverse polarity, we have provided that option for correction with software correction in the meter, and this is where you would correct that. One thing we always recommend, meter designation. By default, you have your serial number. Recommend inputting something representative of what you are metering. For example, panel A or panel B or MSB1, MSB2, etc. On the communications of the meter, as I mentioned, you have several options to connect to the meter. By default, the meter does have an optical cable or optical port on the front of the meter. These are default settings. You do get the RS485 port, which you can connect. We can provide a USB to RS485 cable that you could connect to the back of the meter. I'll scroll down here to your network card. Network card isn't added to the meter. By default, your meter will have a 10.0.0.2 IP address. Here, this is our meter on our network. And as you can see, there are many other options for configuring your meter. You can scale your meters. If you're working on a facility doing mega load, megawatt loads or generation, you can change that. So that covers the basics. Once you've configured your communications, your CT, PT ratio, you're establishing a meter designation, logical name, You would update the device. You are always prompted, are you sure you want to continue? Um, since I didn't perform any changes, I will not continue, but we can explore more of that in the future if you have further questions. One quick question we get a lot is, my meter firmware is out of date, or how do I update? If you go to the tools option, meter firmware update, here you select it, you receive a prompt, firmware update. um, I'm currently logged in as a reader, but you will be allowed to browse to your firmware file that we can provide you if your meter is out of date. Always recommend consulting our tech support team ahead of time. And you input the information we provide you and simply hit start, and your meter will be, firmware will be updated. Then you can exit. This meter, the Shark 270, does have additional options. With your network card, you are able to see a web page. For example, if you have your meter on an IP address, I'll give the example of, for default, 10.0.0.2, you simply put that 10.0.0.2 on your web page or browser and hit enter. That'll bring up this page. So this is the meter that I am connected to with our software. And as you can see, gives you similar options in a different layout to view your readings. Through the web page browser, you cannot configure your meter, but you are allowed to do some alarm configurations. So here we'll begin. Your introduction gives you your meter designator. Again, that serial number was set on our meter that I'm connected to. It tells you the type of meter and serial number. If you change the meter designation to that logical name, that would show here. Next, select the volts, amps. It gives you a table layout of your meter readings. Again, you see volts line to neutral and volts line to line. You also have your frequency and then your currents per phase. We show you your maximum and your minimum for those readings. Next is the power energy. Here, similar to the software, you have your readings for watts, vars, power factor, volt amp. Your energy gives you your watt hours, var hours, volt amp, and your totals received and delivered. If you wish to see that in quadrant energy, you can see your readings. Hover over the box and it'll highlight which quadrant you are reading your totals. Quadrant demand, similar layout. You get your accumulated values here. Per phase demand, see quadrant 4, quadrant 1 have our readings. And you have some of your power quality readings here. You can see your phase angles. In information, here you'll find a lot more information regarding your meters, firmware versions, and network card information. It does provide you a quick summary of what is configured in your meter for your hookup, your CT and PT ratios, and your system wiring designation. Here you can set up email notification whenever you wish to get alarm messages or notifications for different readings. We can guide you through this further. Simply put your server URL or IP address and port, hit next. Just simply jumps you to the next window. You select which values you wish to be informed about. You fill in information for the email, from to what subject to place for your notification email, and there is a password that is provided in the manual, and we can help you with that as well. That will take and should function properly. This was a overview of the web page, quick tour of using the software, viewing the polling screens on the software, and the other options there. Quickly touched on firmware update. One question that I had as well, reset device information. This reset device information is simply used for resetting your accumulators and counters. So I believe this reaches a conclusion of my quick basic programming of the Shark 270.